Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Thank you all for coming, and I also want to thank publicly the Darien Public Library for welcoming us here this morning. My name is Rich Turcsany. As Aaron had mentioned before, I'm the Public Access Coordinator for Cablevision in Norwalk. Today what I'll be doing is I'll be discussing about public access television, which some of you may or may not be aware of. Now, since August of 1982, Cablevision has provided our Lower Fairfield County area residents with a public access channel for them to produce and submit their own non-commercial television programming. And some of you might be asking what types of programming could be produced onto the public access channel. It can be anything that concerns or is of interest to the people right here in your own community. It could be a particular hobby that you might have. Could be documentaries, could be church services, art exhibits, area musicians performing in concert. The list is endless. And before I begin my presentation here, and to give you all a better understanding of the types of programming that people have produced for Channel 88 over the last couple of years, what I want to do is show you a brief video that features some highlights of some of the many programs that are produced on our station. So without further ado, and hopefully our little touchpad system will be working here, let's take a look at some examples of do-it-yourself television. I don't want to see the menu screen. Should play, right?
Yeah, play should do it.
Alright.
That's okay, I just have to do it and turn on.
There we go. That's all it is.
Thank you, Lord. We bring the agreement of True Vine Poetry. I'm Pastor Joseph Green, and with me tonight I have our assistant pastor, Evangelist Helen Middlebury. At this time, Evangelist Middlebury will be taking us to the throne of grace. To you, Evangelist.
Praise God.
I want you to know for you, we are praying. Whatever your need is, we're praying with you and we're praying for you.
As an introduction to what you're about to see this time on Neighbors, allow us to set the stage. This season began like the ones before, which involved a team of neighbors, both physically and by cause, coming together to help teach young people that life is like the game of chess. The first lesson you must learn on the road to improving not only your chess game but also your life is to get your priorities straight. It is important to make the right decisions from the beginning so that your life is on good square, to ensure the protection of the king and, in your life, yourself.
And on March 28th, which is 12 days later, in 1979, we have the 3 Mile Island event, which is a nuclear reactor which went bad. Our next item is a movie called War Games, which was first shown on March 3rd, 1983. It's the war games of a nuclear war. The event that it is predicting is the bankruptcy of the Washington Public Power Supply System, also known as the Wappies. And that happened on June 27, 1983.
You're watching a culinary tour, and I'm your host, Darlene Banks, and today we have a special treat. We actually have this lovely woman over to my side. This is my mother. Say hi. Hi. Now let's talk about the vegetables. So what vegetables do we have in here? We have onions, right? We have garlic. We have scallion, we have the red peppers, we have the green peppers, we have cuminelle peppers, and I don't think I mentioned thyme before, so we have the thyme as well. Did I garlic? Okay, garlic, okay. So that's what we have in here.
extraordinary. This is an honorable dance. This is traditional dancing.
We've had in real estate since I've been in the business 15 years. And it is challenging, but to agree with Patsy, they need us more than ever. And you have to be more creative. I mean, there's opportunity for everybody, and to look at it as monolithically, you know, it's a challenging market, and I agree, but at the same time, we as professionals rise to the challenge to find those opportunities. If you're moving up, there's never been a better time to move up, ever. With the interest, practically free money, interest rates are so low, your losses are...
And are we seeing a decrease in people that are moving up in Fairfield County? I'm sensing that people may be staying in their homes a little longer and scared to take that leap to the bigger property, the bigger mortgage.
Téléspectateurs, bonsoir et bienvenue sur la HTN, Haitian Television Network of Connecticut.
Hi, I'm Leslie Mueller. Welcome to Art and Style. Downtown Greenwich, Connecticut, just 30 minutes from New York City, is a mix of boutiques, antique shops, movie theaters, luxury stores, and restaurants. But today, thanks to the Greenwich Arts Council, the downtown area will become one big art gallery.
After the 3-year ministry of Jesus, the Passover celebrated that year was like none other before or since. For 3 years, Jesus had gone about many of the cities of Israel, teaching, healing, and working miracles.
I have lots of questions, and we're both stepmothers, right?
Yes.
Well, I saw that. It's often a jolt to women who marry men with kids once they really fall into the role, not just of stepmother-to-be, but of actual stepmother.
Okay, so that is a brief sample of some of the interesting programs on Cablevision's public access channel, and just keep in mind that all of the programs that you have just seen in that montage were made by residents just like yourselves. Let me explain a little bit about how one would get a program cablecast on Channel 88. In order to be eligible, you must first of all be over the age of 18 years of age, and you also must be a local area resident of one of the 10 towns that's served by Cablevision's franchise area. And those towns are Greenwich, Stamford, New Canaan, right here in Darien, Norwalk, Westport, Weston, Wilton, Easton, and Reading. And if you meet those requirements, you would need to contact us about wanting to broadcast such a program. What we will then do is send you a copy of our public access kit, which contains the basic public access rules as well as our policies and procedures for the programming. Please be aware that you must agree to accept the responsibilities that are outlined in that kit. And after you come into the office to meet with us in person, you will then be able to fill out the Access User Application Form to apply for the actual airtime, as well as to sign the Access User Contract, which is the form in which you assume all responsibility for the airing of your program. Now, if you have a program that's already produced and you're ready to submit it to us, then all you would need to do is to simply submit your already completed program to us. We can only accept 4 shows at one time, though, along with your application and the contract that I just showed you before. If you don't have a show already produced, then you are eligible and able to utilize our production facilities, and those facilities are located in our offices at 28 Cross Street in Norwalk. We're actually located right next door to the News 12 Connecticut studios, in fact. I'll be talking about that facility in just a little bit in more detail. But let's take a few minutes first of all to talk about the Access User Contract. This is the form that would need to be signed by all public access users prior to the cable casting of your program. It stipulates that you, as a resident and a producer sponsor of the Access show, are familiar with the policies and procedures for public access that are outlined in that access kit, and that you also assume all responsibility for the airing of your public access program. Please note that there cannot be anything in that program featuring any kind of obscene or otherwise unprotected speech, nor can there be anything in your program that features anything that's deemed commercial in nature. An example of this would be advertising goods or services for a product or business, or asking for any kind of a monetary donation on the air. It also cannot be exploited for any profit, non-political, or commercial fundraising at all. Plus, if you're going to be using our production facility to produce the program, you have to also assume responsibility for the proper care of the access equipment, whether that is the studio equipment or if it's equipment that's used on location to tape a segment for your program. With the program application form, what you're doing is you're applying for the actual airtime that is available on the Channel 88 schedule. And it's a 7-day-a-week programming schedule that we have. These applications should be submitted to us no less than 15 days prior to the scheduled cable casting of your program. In the case of a program series, we're talking about more than one program here, an application needs to be submitted to us on a quarterly basis, as our program schedule cycles run every 13 weeks. Right now we are in a schedule from July 1st until September 30th. And to make it fair for all access users, what we try to do is schedule programs on a first-come, first-served basis when the renewal submission dates are due. Please also note that the application form has 6 choices for all airtimes. So if you're applying for airtime, try and please list all 6 air choices in that area. The first slot that is available to you will be the one that will become your time slot. Special one-time only programs can also be scheduled depending on available airtime. If you wish to have your access program repeated on the air, we allow at least one additional airing, which we refer to as your secondary time slot. And if you wish to have that additional airing, then all you would need to do is just fill out another additional program application form. When you submit the program application and the access user contract forms to us, we also ask that you provide us with a current proof of residency. And this is done in order to verify that you are indeed a resident of one of the area towns that are served by Cablevision of Connecticut's franchise. The proof of residency can be a valid driver's license, a recent utility bill. An example would be a Northeast Utilities, could be Aquarian, a wired telephone provider, such as AT&T here in this area, a town tax bill, or even a recent Cablevision statement. This will need to be done each quarterly renewal period as well too. And please note, we cannot accept cell phone bills because we need to know that you have a wired telephone and an address. As far as the training, we offer 3 different types of training. We offer studio, non-linear editing, and what we refer to as ENG, or remote production. I'm going to explain a little bit about them in a little bit more detail. In order to be able to use the facilities, you first must become a qualified access user. And to do that, you must successfully complete the training course in your area of interest. These access courses that we offer are held at various times throughout the year. And in order to be eligible, again, you must be over 18, and you also must be a resident of one of the 10 towns in the Cablevision franchise area. And if you know anybody that also might be interested in the training, you can see me after the presentation today. I can give you some information. Or you can call me in my office during the regular business hours in Norwalk. Once we receive the training application, and by the way, I have a copy of it here. Once we receive this application, we then will place you onto our waiting list, and once we have any available openings coming up, we'll contact you a few weeks before the class is scheduled to begin and inform you of the dates. The training will not only show you how to operate the equipment, but we'll also give you some helpful hints on how to create a technically sound program. For the studio, to become a qualified access user there, you would need to successfully complete the 5-week-long public access training course. And it's an introductory basic training course that offers hands-on training in television production. I emphasize the word hands-on because we let you actually test drive the equipment as you learn. The studio training class usually meets on Tuesday nights between the hours of 6:30 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. and that's in the studio that's right next to News 12 Connecticut. Please keep in mind also that the only people that will be permitted access into our facility are going to be your crew members, the talent, as well as your guests, and they also need to be noted on your studio application form too. Also, there is no smoking, eating, or drinking permitted in any of our production facilities. So please try not to bring bottles of soda or wine in there if you can. Once you officially become a Cablevision certified access user, then you are able to apply to use Cablevision Studio to produce your own access program. In order to do this, there is a studio application form, which is what I'm holding right now in my hand, and that would need to be filled out by the producer of the program. You would be listing on this form also the date and the times that you're going to be booking the studio, as well as the names of the people that will be serving as your crew members on your production, along with a list of guests. These crew members must also be considered qualified Cablevision users, and if you ever have trouble trying to find potential people to crew on a particular program, we also keep a volunteer list of access volunteers who have all completed the course, posted in our offices in Norwalk. Also, to be fair to the other public access producers that we have, we can allow you a maximum of 3 hours of studio use. But please note that if you're going to have any kind of pre-production meetings with your crew members, the guests and the hosts, those should take place prior to your allotted studio time. So don't just come at the time you're scheduled to use the studio and meet with everybody for an hour, because if you do that, you waste an hour of your potential studio time. Also, try to arrive here on time and adhere also to your allocated reserved studio time. In other words, don't be late if you can. The application form must be submitted to us at least 15 days prior to the requested date of taping, and only 4 studio bookings can be booked on the calendar at one particular time. Also, keep in mind too that the key to doing an effective television production is teamwork. Every crew member, from you being the producer, to the director of the program, to the audio person, the graphics operator, the tape operator, your studio camera operators, and your floor manager, they're all working together as a team to accomplish one goal, making the overall production happen. For a very effective show, you would probably need at least 5 to 7 people to serve as crew members on your program. And also keep in mind too that anything that is produced in the studio, it has to be broadcast on channel 88. It's not intended to be used as a home movie. You have to broadcast what you create in our studio for people to see at home. For nonlinear editing, if you wish to book the edit suite, we also have a separate application form for that too. This editing application also has to be submitted to us no less than 15 days prior to the booking date. Some producers may need more time to work on their program and their projects, so we actually allow you a maximum of 4 hours in the edit suite, not 3, because we want to give you more time. But we ask that you book no more than 8 hours per week to be fair to everybody else. So in other words, don't hog up the edit room too many times during the week, because we'll be sharing with other people as well too. As far as the remote equipment that we have a mini DV camcorder, as well as a tripod and an optional light kit that people can take out as well and shoot on location. If you wish to reserve that kit for outside productions, you would need to request the equipment in advance, at least 2 weeks in advance, and we loan the equipment out for a 24-hour period. The only exception being the weekends, because if somebody had the camera booked for today, we're actually closed on Saturday and Sunday, so you would actually have 2 extra days to work with the equipment and then just bring it back to us on Monday. So most of our producers like to have more time, and they will book for a weekend booking. In closing, I hope that this information has been very helpful to you and that you're now interested in possibly producing an access program with us. If you're seriously interested in starting the wheels in motion and get everything going, please see me, and I'll be more than happy to discuss more about it with you. And I'm going to open up the floor to some questions and answers in a few minutes, but again, I want to thank everybody here for coming today, and thank you all for your time. Does anybody have any questions they want to ask? Yes, sir.
How long can the production be?
In the studio?
Yes. I mean, your actual presentation. The show. The show.
It could be, well, most of our producers will do 30-minute shows.
Okay.
Some people like to do an hour.
Okay, so
We really don't really have a set time limit. I mean, as long as we have enough room for broadcasting it, we would have to look at our schedule. But I would say for most television shows, they're going to be like just talk shows. A half hour would probably give you enough time to probably put something together. It all depends on the topic you're talking about, too. Some of our producers will also do a series of topics and do like a part 1, part 2, and they'll take maybe more than one interview the same night. So that can be done as well, too.
Okay.
You had a question, ma'am? You had a question.
It was actually the same question. But I do have a question. You say that it cannot be commercial?
Yeah, I mean, in other words, you can't design your program where you're plugging a business.
But it can be, I mean, it can be about a topic that is like a business.
Well, give me an example of what you're
Well, I'm looking to do a kitchen show about kitchens.
just general about kitchen fixtures and just kitchen design, yeah.
Yeah.
But you can't design the program where it's going to talk about your particular business, or you're going to actually have at the very end of the show, please visit my showroom at so-and-so Post Road, Darien. You can't design it like that. I mean, if it's a general topic about kitchen design, that's fine.
Yeah.
There's no problem with that. Does anybody else have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Is there a specific area that we're allowed to take the equipment? We have to stay within the 10 towns?
Well, we prefer that you use it within the franchise, but I mean, well, like, where were you thinking about taking it? Down to Texas or? Yeah.
Outside of the, say it's New Haven, for example.
I don't think that should be a problem.
I mean, we're not restricted to those, if there's an event, for example.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a special event, well, like we saw one producer, took a camera out to a powwow out in Long Island. I don't think that'll be an issue, to my knowledge. I think that'll be okay. I mean, as far as, the only thing that is, again, since you signed the contract, you also have to take responsibility for that camera or the tripod in case something happens to it. And
So do we have to let you know ahead of time that we're taking this?
yeah, you have to book the camera at least 2 weeks ahead of time, because I have to see, if it is available, because we have other users that utilize it as well too.
Say, okay, we're taking this to New York, or you don't need to know where.
I don't think I really need to know where, but as long as, you're going to take the full responsibility in case that camera gets, go ahead.
There would be another franchise in New York or on Long Island or New Haven where the same equipment is available?
Let me explain a little bit about that, because I know there was somebody from Bridgeport that was supposed to be here today. Did that person show up here? Maybe not? Okay, I know he was supposed to come and listen to this. Let me just explain a little bit about how public access works on the franchise area. Down here in Lower Fairfield County, Cablevision runs the public access program directly. In the Bridgeport area, although it's a Cablevision system, which is Cablevision of Southern Connecticut, there's a third-party public access facility called Soundview Community Media, and they operate the public, educational, and government access channels for that region. In Newtown, Charter Communications runs the public access that serves the suburbs of Danbury and the northern end of Bridgeport, Monroe, Trumbull, and Comcast has Danbury, Bethel, and Ridgefield. So there is a public access facility for each cable franchise. In some areas it's run by a third party, and in some areas it's actually run by the cable system that provides the service. In our case, Cablevision provides the public access channel. The educational and the government channels are town-specific, though. And Jim over here, who runs TV 79, which a lot of you have probably seen here in Darien, that's run out of the Darien Library. But that is a total different approach than the public channel, because they cover more of the government aspects of what goes on in Darien. We cover more general programming.
If I had did a presentation that was could be seen by anyone in Connecticut, could that same public production be picked up by the other franchises?
In those areas, you would need to have a local area sponsor, a person that's a resident of one of those areas to run the program on your behalf. That's why here in this area, we have some programs that come from Bridgeport and from Westchester County and from Danbury. The shows are produced by people that live in those areas, but there are local area residents from the 10 towns that serve on their behalf, and all they do is they fill out the applications and the contracts to have it broadcast on Cablevision. But yeah, we can also take programs from outside of our area as well too, as long as there's a sponsor.
Go ahead. I don't mean to continue.
We got 3 questions here. Keep them coming. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. No, I wondered. Unfortunately, and I hate to tell you, I haven't seen Channel 88 to know what's on. Busy all the time.
How many have seen Channel 88? I'm just kind of curious. I know you guys have. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, I'm going to suggest that you check it out over the weekend and take a look at some of the programs that are on there. There's a whole array of different topics and ideas to look at. Production values are going to vary on each program, but we have everything from ethnic programming to religious to talk shows. We have some documentary things, some art stuff. Anything you can imagine. These are just programs that are produced by the public, and they want to get their messages out.
Is there a guide? My last question.
Guide.
Well, I mean, if
Program guide, yeah.
Program for Channel 88.
The best way that we can let you see what's on there is if you actually go to Channel 88 in the on the on-screen guide. You know, when you hit the guide button on your remote control, you should be able to see the listings for the access programs on there. Also on Channel 99, I know they're listed as well.
Okay, thank you.
But I don't have a program guide per se on paper that anybody could refer to. Yes, sir.
So, I may have missed a step, but I have no experience, but I would like to do a show. I first have to do, one of the first things I have to do is apply for training for the studio.
Right. I actually have an application form right with me too, if you want to fill it out today.
So,
yeah.
In order to use the nonlinear and remote, I may have missed these comments, but do I also, is there a separate training, or is that the same training for those? How does that work?
We can do separate editing, separate training for that if you'd like. But we do a general course as well, where we teach you, the basics of television production.
So that 5-week course would allow me then to use any 3 of these?
Yeah, you could. I mean, it's up to you. If you want to do studio, you can do studio or editing, or it's your choice. But let me ask you a question. Do you have experience working with any video? Have you? What kind of experience? I mean, what kind of stuff have you worked with?
The Canons and sort of those cameras, and I do quite a bit of editing. I know that. And
all right, but when you say editing, have you worked with non-linear editing before? I mean, other than like something on your iMac or your
Premiere, just Premiere.
Just okay. So you haven't really worked with anything like a Final Cut Express or Final Cut Pro or anything like that. All right, it might be a good idea for you to learn, because a lot of our technology that we now have in the studio is digital based. We have a brand new control room that we just opened up last year. We upgrade some equipment to digital there, and our edit facilities now are totally digital. So it may be worth your interest to learn some of the more professional equipment as well.
Yeah, that'd be great. I was just asking if...
You're a Darien resident, sir?
Norwalk.
Norwalk, okay, so you're
I
cool.
was just asking if that 5-week course covered that as well.
We will cover it, yes.
Okay, great.
Jim, go ahead.
I was going to say another great resource is Norwalk Community College, which has a lot of different courses on production, and they have facilities. I know that one of the producers that you work with, John Hardwell, the Stream of Conscience.
Right, that's a Wednesday at 8 o'clock, yep.
I just had a couple of questions.
Yes.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but these are questions that I get asked as well too on the government side.
Yeah.
If you produce a program for public access on Cablevision, can it also run on ATT Uverse? And who's doing their public access?
I really would not be the person to ask that, Jim, because I really don't know how their public access is set up right now. The last I heard, there's like a drop-down menu, and you have to choose the town, but as far as I know, it's still just the educational and the government channels. I don't know if any of the public channels, Soundview might be on there, but I don't know if any of the other public access providers are on there at this point.
There's only a couple of the town government channels, Westport being one of them. What about posting a video on YouTube after it's produced?
We have some people that have done that. There should be no problem there. I mean, with YouTube, you have the rights to run the video, so it shouldn't be a problem.
And last question, not that anything like this would be possibly planned, but it was my recollection that the FCC forbade cable operators from doing any censorship of public access for content, language, topic, etc. Has that been changed, or is it just a cable vision rule?
Well, what we're talking about is like something that would be like really extreme, like nudity, that type of thing. You know, I mean, as far as I know, it's based on what the FCC, ruled on. But again, I'm not really in a position to explain, the legal end of it. That would be something that Jennifer or one of them might be able to, help you with. Come on down, sir. We just actually finished up the presentation. Did you come over from Bridgeport?
Yes.
You were the one that called the library earlier.
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. Are you interested in public access? Are you a producer now? Have you thought about it?
I am. Good morning, everyone. My name is Travis.
Hi, Travis.
I am actually an aspiring actor and an aspiring writer. I just finished up Emerson Community College. I graduated in May with an associate's degree in theater arts. So the reason why this is interesting to me because I have a proposed television series that I'm trying to get produced. And when I saw that email a few days ago, I read it, but I said, well, can't make it because of work. But they told me yesterday I had a day off. So I said, okay, I'm going to try to come and see what's happening.
Well, Travis, let me just explain in your situation. You live in Bridgeport, you said. Okay. Let me just explain, as I was saying a few minutes ago to the people here, public access in Bridgeport, even though Cablevision has the system up in that area, it's Cablevision of Southern Connecticut, we don't directly operate the public access channel up there. There is a third-party provider called Soundview Community Media.
Yes.
And they would be the ones to contact regarding any kind of training. Because down here, I'm the coordinator for public access in the lower Fairfield County area. So all the towns from Westport to Greenwich, they would go through me as far as any kind of assistance as far as training or being able to produce or submit their own television show. But in your situation, you would need to contact Soundview.
Yes, they're actually right across the street from the college.
Right. And I know they've done some television before as well, too. So I would suggest that you contact them as far as the production.
I see.
Does anybody else have any other questions they want to ask? Go ahead, Kathy.
Now, the show that we produce through Cablevision.
Yes.
Will be viewed on Channel 88 to those 10 towns.
Yes, it goes out to all 10 towns, all the way from Greenwich up to Easton, Reading, and then over to Westport. So you get a pretty good chunk of Fairfield County right there.
How long has this been around for?
Good question. We have run the public educational and government access channels on the system since 1982. We started in August of 1982. Our original facility was in Westport, and we have been in Norwalk since 1985. And the channel has grown from the first program ever broadcast on public access back in 1982 was a 16 millimeter film from the Salvation Army that kept playing over and over again for like 6 months until we started getting more studio programs. And I think now we have something like close to 85 shows on the air. So we have really grown leaps and bounds, and we're trying to get more people involved with the studio as well too, and hopefully we'll have some people from this area also might be involved too. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, you mentioned this earlier about the crew. You said if you're looking for crew, and then ... I spaced out.
All right, let me explain about that. if you're interested in getting certified to be able to use the facilities, what we can do in the training course is be able to give you a certificate that will be able to not only certify you as a producer, but you'll also get a chance to become a crew member on a production if you'd like. So what we would do is, if let's say a producer is looking for somebody that would like to help out, maybe do camera or maybe do some audio or tape or whatever, we have a volunteer list of people. And what would happen is we would place your name on that list, and if somebody is interested in working with somebody, they can contact that person, and then if they're interested, they can try to work with them and give them some training also on working in a real-time environment. So something like that may be good for you to also think about too if you'd like to help out. Go ahead.
Can you name the crew members again that you said between 5 and 7?
Let me explain the positions that you would need to apply for. Okay, some people can actually do a show with less than 5 people, but the quality is not going to be the same as if you have at least 5 to 7 people. What you're going to be looking to have is an audio person, somebody to actually run the audio levels back and forth from the studio. A graphics person that's actually going to put names up on the screen to identify the guests and the host of the program, as well as like closing credits or opening credits. A tape operator, somebody who's going to be recording the program as it's being taped, or somebody to actually roll in some pre-taped stuff that would be into this program. Up to 2 to 3 camera operators, because you're going to need to switch cameras back and forth and not just stay on the one person for the entire half hour. Somebody as a floor manager, who would be the one cueing the talent as to when to begin speaking on camera and how much time we have left in the program. So he would be wrapping you up with a visual cue. The director of the program, the person that would be running the switcher, taking the cameras back and forth and telling the crew members to be ready to take certain camera shots or when to be able to play a certain piece of tape or an audio cue. And then the most important position, you guys being the producers of the program, you guys have to decide on the concept you want to have for your half hour or 1 hour program. So you all have to work together as a team. I mean, we've had instances in the past where one person does audio and tape at the same time, but the quality may not be the same as if you have one person separately running it than the other. Then it doesn't look like we're, delayed or anything like that. I mean, it's a smooth presentation.
Now, are these people, these volunteers, available, like the same people, say weekly or however often they're taping?
It all depends on their availability because they have other things that they do as well too, and they can't always be around for certain things. But it's better to call them first and to get an idea. Anybody else in the back?
You don't mind me trying to clarify?
Go ahead, Travis.
So you need an audio person.
Right.
And that what is the function? So that
The audio person would be the one controlling the microphones of who's in the studio so that your guests can be heard.
Is this only for the studio or just?
This would be more for the studio. I mean, if you're going to be actually on location, I mean, really, you're the one-man crew pretty much because you're going to be the one setting up the camera, and you're also going to be making sure that you get, footage of what you're going to be using in your program. Good.
After you've done your whole program,
Yes.
there's obviously digital editing to be done after
Right.
the cut. So for a half-hour program, you might have to take an hour worth of tape. Is that not unreasonable, or?
Well, with nonlinear editing, keep in mind that if you're shooting on videotape, what you're doing is you're going to be digitizing that videotape onto a computer drive afterwards.
Okay, maybe.
And without getting too specific on editing, because that could take forever to explain, at least today, you're working with a timeline in which you're taking bits and pieces of video and you're trimming and pasting and trying to condense it down to a half hour, but you'll be able to know exactly if you're long or short on your programs.
Okay, so that's fairly.
Yeah.
Is there applications that we should look at before, or is part of our training watching other videos being made so we don't make the same mistakes?
Well, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be getting some hands-on training, and I'll be actually part of that training process because we'll actually do some mock production work, so you get a chance to actually test drive the cameras and the switching, and then we'll show you the editing, how it's all done.
Okay.
So you will get a chance to physically slice and dice whatever you want. I hope I best explain that to you.
Yeah, do we actually get like on a flash drive? What is it, or a DVD, or how do you get it, actual last copy?
We have a DVD burner in the Final Cut. We have a iDVD, which is a max, so you can easily burn it right there. Go ahead, Jim.
How many of your producers produce outside on their own, with their own equipment, their own editing software?
There's a couple that we have.
A finished copy?
Yeah, John has his own equipment as well, too. Christina Haskin, who actually comes here to this library very often, also has her own little editing system. Most producers pretty much use our stuff, but there are a few that have actually gone beyond the studio and the edit room, and they've actually invested in their own equipment to produce or kind of post-produce some of the programming. Go ahead.
Does this cost anything?
Good question. The public access course that we offer is totally free of charge to everybody. It's a public service. We're not trying to make money off of this here. It's really done with the intention of actually giving you a chance to do community television, and that's what it's all about. So there's no money at all involved. There should be no money transactions among the crew or anything like that. It's all done non-commercially, as I said before. Anybody else? Jim?
At the risk of sounding like I'm completely sucking up the cable vision, can I just say how lucky we are in this franchise area to have local government, local education, and public access channels. Unlike, and you can't say this, but I can because I serve on the Area 9 Cable Council, up at Bridgeport where they've got Soundview, which homogenizes everything and takes away that local impact. So I think it's great that we have this channel and that Cablevision supports local production as they do the local government and education channels.
I don't even think, Jim, on that note, of any other cable system in Connecticut that even has that ability, because I think we're the first ones to really get the local communities involved with the government and the educational channels, and we're very proud of the work they've done. We're certainly proud of what you've done in New Canaan and Greenwich and Westport and all the other towns, and they have come a long way since the days of just a slide that says government access and educational access channel. Even the schools have come a long way. They're actually doing a lot more student-based production. Westport, I know that they've done some live programming featuring bands and some, coffee house type things, and it's just amazing what they're doing. Good.
Eastern Connecticut State University has a very big program and several booths to further students there.
And that's in Willimantic, yeah.
Pardon, sir?
That's in Willimantic, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's great.
What kind of disclosure forms would we need if we're, say, on location and filming?
You mean like a release form?
Yeah.
We do have in the kit an example of a standard release form. You can take that and just, modify it on your basis and everything, because pretty much you have the rights to what you broadcast. I mean, if you're worried about people, having their images on film, whatever, a release form might help you. And just explain to people that it is being used for public access television, because they may not even understand what it is. Go ahead.
So, to continue her question, if we inadvertently or inadvertently get other people at an outside location, we do have to ask or tell them what's going on?
Well, some people may not be friendly with a camera being around them, and you have to explain to them that you're doing this for a TV show, but they want to know, what is it going to be? Is it going to be Channel 2? Is it going to be News 12? They need to know, where it's going to be broadcast in some cases. Good.
Fair.
Kathy, you have another question?
No, I was just, for example, if we're out in Darien sidewalk sales and we're talking to people, do you say, okay, since we've talked to you now, you have to sign this form, or just let them know this is...
Just let them know, and if they don't feel comfortable about having their likeness, they'll let you know. But I mean, a standard release form might help.
Okay. But it's it's not absolutely necessary that we have to say, okay.
No, as long, hey, a lot of people would probably want to be on television, but there's occasionally a few that may not, but it's always good to just,
What if it's a minor, what if it's a child? As long as it-
there should be something if it's a minor. I mean, you know, you don't want to really, I mean, you have to explain exactly what they're being used for, you know.
Okay.
You know, the parent should also be notified too. Any other questions? I think I've said a lot. Go ahead, sir.
How often does the program usually repeat? You mentioned that.
We try to give it at least one extra time slot if possible. Not everybody does that or requests that, but from time to time we do have people that want to have it on more than once. But we try to schedule it no more than 2 times a week because we have so many programs. As I mentioned, I've got close to like 85 shows that, you know, we have a lot of programs now. And prime time's usually the first time slots that go for the most part.
Do you have some that go religious type of things around each week?
There are religious shows that do it usually on Sundays, but some cases they do repeat once a week on other days of the week.
And are you
Whether it's
24 hours a day?
potentially the channel could operate 24 hours a day, although most people kind of program their shows within the daytime and the evening periods. We do have, I think, 2 or 3 shows that air like late night towards like 11:30, 12 midnight. Yes, Kathy.
Sorry. How do we know what the viewer interest is? Is there some kind of...
Like a Nielsen rating type of thing?
Feedback of some sort.
The best way to find out who's watching, I get calls every so often about shows, but not as often. The best way you could probably find out exactly who's watching is if you have a Facebook page or if you have an email address you put on your program. You can put your email on there. I mean, usually you want to put like towards the end of the program if you have any comments, suggestions, that type of thing. But you will be surprised as to who's going to be contacting you. You may have potential guests that may want to come on the show. We've had several producers that have done that. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
What did you say the function was of the floor manager?
Floor manager would be the person that would be actually cueing the talent as to when to start talking on camera. They usually give like hand signs and hand signals, and also when to wrap things up at the end of the show, because they're going to need to know how much time they have, what camera they're looking into. Any other questions? Last opportunity, folks.
What did you say is the person tuning the switcher? What is their function?
That would be the director. You know, Travis, if you want, why don't you come see me afterwards? I'll give you all the information you need to know regarding that stuff, and I think that'll be best, helping you out. If anybody's interested in some access kits and some training applications, I do have these up front. Please feel free to take one if you'd like. There's also a card over there with my contact information. And if you know of anybody else that might be interested in some training down the road, please have them get in contact with me. My phone number is also listed on the card as well too, and we could be more than happy to work with them. So I want to thank all of you for coming. Aaron, I want to thank you especially and the Darien Public Library for hosting us today. You've been great, and I think this is our biggest turnout we've had so far, and I'm very proud. Thanks, guys.